Hello, I'm David DeCosmo. Welcome to ECTV Live. I'm joined, as I am weekly, by my co-host, Rusty Fender.
Welcome. Good to see you, David.
Rusty. We have a guest today who's going to tell us about several programs that may very well affect you or your family. Nancy Post is the director of the Voluntary Action Center here in Lackawanna County. And Nancy, we've had you or representatives of the center on many times. As a matter of fact, at this time of year, traditionally, we had one of your experts from a program that's just now getting underway, and that involves taxes.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about the tax assistance program, which actually is underway now.
Right. Today is actually our first day, so the folks who know all about taxes are very busy at this moment. The tax counseling for the elderly program assists taxpayers who are 60 or over or who are on disability. And we do taxes for them free of charge if they live in Lackawanna County. So our volunteer tax folks are a little busy at this moment as they are sitting there doing taxes for seniors.
Sure, and even though it is underway, if someone, in this case from Lackawanna County, fits that criteria, that is 60 years and up or disabled, they're still able to take advantage of it, yes?
Correct. We still have appointments available. We do this program appointment only so that when the folks come in, they don't have to take a number and wait. They're taken care of in a more orderly fashion. And we then can make an appointment for them and give them time to do their taxes for them.
Right. Now, I'm going to draw back on my memory from our expert from last year and mention that if you want to take advantage of this program, you get a hold of the Voluntary Action Center, but you should bring with you all of your pertinent tax records, your W-2 forms, all the various...
And make an appointment, too.
Right. Yeah, you make your appointment, bring those forms along because they're important. Now, one of the things I always ask, but I think it always must be asked and always must be answered, is when someone is coming for assistance like that, they are bringing you a lot of personal financial data. And I think there are some, possibly, who have not taken advantage of it because they're just a little bit afraid of the possibility that, well, I'm giving all this information, how am I assured that that information isn't going to be handed out to someone or used in any other way, shape, or form?
Confidentiality is a huge part of the program. The volunteers who prepare the taxes are all IRS certified, so that they have to pass the test that the IRS gives them before they can do taxes, of course. And we're very careful to keep all of their information very confidential. We send all of that information back home with them. All of the taxes are electronically filed, so we don't keep all their tax information at our site. Everything goes back home with them.
And this is one of the pitfalls of the electronic age.
Yes.
Where with HIPAA laws, you can't stand within 10 feet of someone at the right age for fear that you'll overhear their prescription. And this is just one of the pitfalls. And I always laugh at folks who are afraid to order things online. I've been ordering things online since online started back in the mid-1990s. I've never had a problem. And people won't, even though it's encrypted when you send things out to Amazon or eBay or whomever, but this is the way it's going to be. We're not going back to using typewriters, and we're not going back to doing the long form and mailing them in anymore. You gotta step up to the plate.
But you can see that since you're dealing with a senior population, that's the same population that is the slowest to latch on to the computer age and the technology, and therefore probably the most suspicious of using it. And I remember being told that these volunteers were certified by the IRS. One of the things that blows my mind about that is the fact that those regulations change constantly. Get a new administration going in now, you wonder how they might change. So
and you've got to be up on that.
So what are they re-certified or tested regularly? Or?
They take a training class every year. So just because they did taxes last year doesn't mean that they can just walk in and do taxes this year.
Exactly.
They're all retrained. They're all retested. Because things, with the tax code, things change all the time.
Sure.
So they are up on the new things. And this year, we actually have new software that the IRS has given us to use. So it was a whole new learning curve even for the volunteers.
Have they raised the limit on what you can make when you're fully retired? After?
You're not asking the right person. I am actually amazed at what these preparers have to learn and
I'll
what they
bet.
know. Right.
I'll bet.
They are the experts, to be honest with you.
And they are volunteers.
They are volunteers. They're all over the age of 60, so they also are retired and have time to devote to this program, and they devote an enormous amount of time to the program. They're there all through the tax season, every single Monday and Wednesday, and sometimes extra days, doing taxes. And they could be, in the Bahamas, or they could be on a cruise because they're retired, but they save their cruises till after tax season.
They love what they do, I guess, and they must have been preparers in a former career
Well,
as well.
actually, some of them are, a lot of them aren't. But it's that love of helping other seniors out and
great.
knowing that there are seniors out there who need their taxes done who cannot afford to have them done by a paid preparer. So they are there to help people economically to get through this a little bit.
How many volunteer experts do you have?
We have 8 this year. And we normally do taxes for about 500 seniors.
Oh, so they are
They're
really
busy.
taxed.
They are taxed.
Yeah.
They're busy.
Yeah.
We're not the only tax program in town, though. We should say the United Way is teamed up with the University of Scranton, and they also do taxes. They do them for low-income residents of any age, and they also do senior taxes. They have some appointments, but mostly it's a walk-in program. So sometimes you have to wait a little
Yes.
bit, which may be difficult for seniors.
Sure,
who
but you
can't
raise a
stand
good
around.
point, because no matter where you're watching, if you're watching in Luzerne County, for instance, rather than Lackawanna, there are programs
Yes.
available. You've got to just seek them out. But most every county has some organization, if not multiple organizations, that do offer some help preparing taxes. And I'm one of those. I'm not a math major. I'm not even a math minor. I need assistance. In my case, we have a family member who happens to know this stuff inside and out. But a lot of people don't have this kind of help readily available. And the problem is that you hit an April tax deadline, but you can't start in April to get that ready in many cases.
Right. Yeah, it is a lot of paperwork for some people to gather together to bring to us. So some of our folks prefer coming immediately to have their taxes done, but others like to wait until the end of March or the first week in April, because it does take them a long time to collect all of the items that they feel that they need.
Well, you've got to have those receipts as to where you've paid taxes, again, the W-2s and that sort of thing, that have got to be available for the experts to look at.
I found that if you're getting money back, you're there in February. If you're owing, you're there the night before.
That's true.
That's true.
So that's the rule of thumb that I've seen go by.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
But one more time, and we'll do it again at the end of the program, if someone wants to take advantage of your program, how do they do it?
They would call 570-347-5616, and just when someone answers the phone, tell them that they would like to make an appointment to have their taxes done.
All right. We'll get a reminder of that before the program closes, because, again, that's the program that's most active sort of currently right now, just started, and here you're working within a parameter of deadlines to handle.
Right.
But there is nonetheless other programs offered by the Voluntary Action Center. One of them is called a prize. What is a prize?
A prize is Medicare counseling. It's called a prize in Pennsylvania, but every state has what we call a SHIP program, which is out there to help Medicare beneficiaries try and get through that crazy maze of Medicare. Anybody that's gone on Medicare knows that it's not an easy thing to get familiar with. And then every year, of course, you have decisions to make about your coverage for the next year. So there's a lot of decisions to be made once you're Medicare eligible.
That in some cases, that's probably more complicated than the taxes. And in this particular situation, I went through it.
Yes.
With a volunteer of yours who unfortunately has has passed away since. But the help was just tremendous, because as you get into that realm and you need you want your Medicare, but then you want some other coverage as well, you just can't pick. Well, you can obviously do it, but it's unwise to just pick willy-nilly a program. Your volunteer asked me, what are the medications that I take regularly? Well, now you go on the computer and they check and they see this program covers this one, this program does not. So it becomes very, very intricate.
It is. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made before you choose a plan. As you said, what medications you're on, where your doctor is, what network your doctor is. Do you see a doctor locally? Do you sometimes have to seek a doctor out of the area? All of those things come into play when you're choosing your health plan.
Because not everything is covered.
Not every plan covers everything.
Right.
So you have to do a little bit of research. So what the volunteers will do is to compare what is out there according to what your needs are, and then explain to you, these are your options, so that you can make the best choice for you.
Literally a custom fit type thing.
Right.
Which worked very well for me, I must say, and I'm sure for others as well.
And those people who are just hitting Medicare age, it's even a little bit more complicated, because it's a whole new ball game.
What is that, 65 now? It's 65, right?
Yeah, unless you might be on Medicare early due to disability.
I see.
But we do a new to Medicare class once a week. Once a month. We have a new to Medicare class for somebody who's approaching that 65 threshold, because there's decisions that you need to make at that point, and not everybody is totally aware of all the decisions that need to be made, and there's deadlines. So you have to know exactly what you need to do. So we have a new to Medicare class on an evening, because a lot of these people are still working and they may need to access the program after hours. So the class starts at 5:30, and we do it mostly in Scranton, or sometimes we do it at satellite locations. But if anyone's interested in accessing that class, it's wonderful. It goes through step by step exactly what you need to know. Just call us and we can let you know when that next class is.
Now, we talked about the tax helpers going through the certification and making sure they're up to date. I'm wondering, I'm envisioning next year these people that help with this situation, what they're going to be going through, because as we all know, there's a major effort in Washington right now to change what has become generally known as Obamacare and switching to something else, which is going to leave a lot of people wondering where to go and how to do it.
Right.
And a lot of them are going to be coming your way here in Lackawanna County.
And the counselors, the volunteer counselors and staff who work on this program go through extensive training, because it's very complicated. So they first start by shadowing other counselors. They do online tests. They have to do an in-person 3-day training, and then they do more tests and more shadowing, because it is so complicated, and we need to make sure that they know everything there is to know before they would meet with someone who needs to make some decisions.
Sure, and again, to take advantage of this, it's merely a matter of calling
Simply
Voluntary
a call.
Action Center here. You're based in Scranton.
We are in Scranton, and we cover all of Lackawanna County, though.
Right.
Right.
Right. So there's your answer for Lackawanna County, and again, your own, if you're in Luzerne, another county, check with your county, probably area on aging, and they should be able to direct you to the proper place.
Yep.
RSVP, another, and that's a program that's been around for some time.
It has. RSVP stands for the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. We search out either people who are retired or perhaps not retired but still looking for volunteer work. Anyone over the age of 55, we personally interview and talk to them about the kind of volunteer work they might be interested in. Now, all of our tax volunteers came through that RSVP program. The Medicare counselors come through RSVP. We sit down with them and just talk to them. What are your interests? What are your skills? How would you like to use your volunteer time? What time do you have available? And then we kind of zero them in to what might be the most appropriate for them. The RSVP program exists in a lot of counties throughout the United States. We support the program here in Lackawanna County and also in Luzerne and Wyoming counties. So anybody who is 55 and over who is looking for a little something to do and spend some really quality time with someone who needs some help can give us a call.
Get a lot of volunteers?
We do. We have, both counties together, about 400 volunteers. And once they're placed, we keep track of them. You know, we make sure they're happy, make sure they are doing something that they really want to be doing. Sometimes they may say, no, that wasn't really exactly what I had in mind, so we steer them in a different direction, or maybe they'll say, we have more time on our hands, we really want to do something else. And so we just sit down and try and figure out what would be best for them.
But that's a large number of volunteers. Is there still a need?
There's a huge need. At Voluntary Action Center, we keep a list of volunteer opportunities for instance, for Lackawanna County, and there's over 75 agencies on that list who are
So
actively
you would
seeking.
supply those
That's why.
agencies.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
no wonder.
We try and keep track of everybody out there
400
that's
sounds
looking
like
for volunteers.
An astronomical amount, but when you break it down over agencies, it's only
Oh,
a
yeah.
handful
Yeah.
scattered
Yeah.
here and there.
And it's from, you know, hospitals, nursing homes, animal causes, you name it. Nonprofits are looking for volunteers to try and help them reach their goals.
And then, of course, those agencies eventually lose some of the volunteers they have.
Sure.
Who then either completely volunteer or perhaps
Right.
pass. So they've got to fill those positions. I can see where that would be almost a rotating
It
need.
is. It is very fluid, and certainly volunteer organizations often come up with new programs. Last year, for instance, we got a grant to do a senior well-being program that we were seeking out seniors in Lackawanna County who had certain needs. We would assess their needs and see if we could help. Well, that was a new program for us that needed new volunteers. So, you know, there's always new things on the horizon and new ways to get those volunteers channeled into the things that are
Do
needed.
the agencies come to you?
They do. They come to us, and we also search them out because we just want to try and make that match, just to make sure that everybody has enough volunteers.
Yeah. Another of the services, and you've undoubtedly heard about this, is the Christmas Holiday Bureau. If you'd explain what
Sure.
it does.
Right. Very short time-wise program because it exists from Thanksgiving to Christmas every year. What we do is to raise funds to assist low-income families. All the funds that we raise immediately go out to the families to help make their holidays a little bit easier. We have, in the past number of years, given out Walmart gift cards so that they could go to Walmart and either purchase food or clothing or toys for their children. But it gives them a card in their hand to use for whatever purpose they really need at that moment. This past year, we helped over 1,000 families to the tune of about $54,000.
Wow.
We had to raise the $54,000 and then sent the $54,000 right out. And it all occurs in that very short time frame between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
How are you eligible for that? Depending on what you make a year, it must be a cap on
Exactly.
that, right?
That
Sure.
is based
Of
on
course.
income, right? And so there are certain income eligibility guidelines. All of the families are interviewed, personally interviewed by volunteers. It's very much volunteer driven. And make sure that they are eligible. Then the volunteers actually put those gift cards in those envelopes and get them mailed out
Well,
to
they
the
should
families.
be checked out because there's a lot of clandestine activities that, you have to check something like
Right.
that out.
Right.
That's
And-
easily abused.
And the folks that contribute, we want to make sure that their money is
going in the
well
right direction,
spent.
sure.
Exactly.
I've covered that while I was on the news beat, and I can assure you that there's a lot of people in need. Fortunately, there are resources, and I mean, this is one of them, and Salvation Army
Right.
and others are available. So the community does try to react to the problems that it faces, and the Christmas Holiday Bureau is certainly one of the ways that it really works out, I think. Another program that again, we've all heard about, matter of fact, we see some spots on TV occasionally, is Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And I didn't realize that operated through
Yes.
the council. So tell us about Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Big Brothers Big Sisters is sponsored in Lackawanna and Susquehanna counties by Voluntary Action Center. And I think a lot of people know of Big Brothers Big Sisters, a wonderful mentoring organization, and they match children who need a positive adult role model in their lives with an adult who would like to do some mentoring. And that match gets together twice a month to do whatever activities that the child and the adult might find that are a good
Mutually
match
interesting.
for them. Right, yeah. Some kids like to go bowling, some kids absolutely do not like to go bowling.
Right.
So they find out what's a good match. Big Brothers Big Sisters is always looking for adult caring volunteers because they always have children who need someone in their lives. And it's a wonderful organization. And a number of the matches that they make last for years.
Yeah.
And even beyond the end of the match, actually.
Now, with regard to that program, and here again, I'm looking at the security aspects, the tax savior, make sure your records are good. While you're welcoming the volunteers, you're also screening them as well to make sure you've got a good, reliable person that not a predator that might be trying to get into the program.
Absolutely. They're all put through screening process. We make sure that they have their Pennsylvania clearances, their fingerprints, everything.
It's like a teaching position.
Yeah.
It is. It's very serious, and it's important that it's that serious because you can never be too careful with a child.
Right.
Yeah, and there again, you're interested, you call the Voluntary Action Center, and tell them what you're interested in, and take it from that.
Right.
Drug and alcohol prevention programs. Now, the county has a drug and alcohol agency.
Correct.
How do you fit in with?
We are a grantee from the county, so the county has given us grants to do certain programs in Lackawanna County. We have 2 people on staff who work with drug and alcohol programs, and they do a varied amount of things. Some of the programs go into schools and they do life skills programs. They also have a senior program because of the issue of disposal of medications, seniors not knowing how to dispose of their medications, and also proper storage of their medications. One of the issues lately is that seniors are watching their grandchildren. Seniors often take a lot of medication. Let's make sure that medication is in a safe place and that doesn't get in the hands of the wrong people.
I love when you hit home. One day a week I watch an 18-month-old
there you go.
grandson, and of course there's medicines around between my wife and myself, and every day before that day, I'm double checking to make sure these are well out of
Absolutely.
reach.
And we've addressed that on this show too. There's a lot of environmental issues with flushing and using the medications down the drain.
Right.
It's right downstream.
Yeah.
You just
There's
can't
water
toss them.
being
Just can't
pumped
toss
out.
them. Yeah.
Exactly, and all these things mix together and make a toxic brew.
Yeah.
So there's ways to do that.
And that's what we always used to do. I mean, when
All the
I was
time.
a kid, you always flushed everything down the
Exactly.
toilet. But they do a number of take-back events so that you go to certain places to drop those drugs off. And also, for people who cannot get to locations, they'll give them some helpful hints about how to dispose of some things at home.
I've
if
noticed
you have
Lackawanna,
to.
Dave and I live in Luzerne County, but Lackawanna County, a bunch of times a year, they
Yes.
always do to bring your old prescriptions. They're very good about that here at the courthouse
So
in
that's
Lackawanna
through
County.
the center.
And that,
Very
and
good about
also,
it.
through the county, of course.
Yes.
And some police departments will do it all the time.
Yep.
So it's important that information is out there
Very
because
good in Lackawanna County about that.
a lot of
Yeah.
drugs around that getting into the wrong hands can
Right.
start someone into a life of drug abuse.
Sure, and these are legal drugs in terms of the person getting the prescription.
Right, they're
Right.
just not used any longer, and they have to be
Right,
disposed of.
right.
Exactly, yeah. So it's another important program.
Well, it sounds like you got your plate full with all of these programs, from the Tax Counseling Enterprise, RSVP, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Christmas Holiday Bureau, and drug and alcohol programs. You are, as you've already said, constantly looking for more volunteers. And I'm gathering they don't have to have an expertise, just an interest?
Right. We have numerous programs, that we will train people for. There's all kinds of training available. You might have a skill that you might want to use, but you might have an interest in something that you've never done before. I mean, some of our tax volunteers never did taxes until they came to us, but there's training available. Some people know nothing about Medicare when they start out, but we can be trained to learn all of these things. So whatever, sounds like a good idea to you, we can try and mold that into something.
So the final trick here is whether you need the assistance of any of these programs or whether you'd like to volunteer and help with any of these programs, they can reach you how many different ways?
We have a website that they can access. It's www.vacnepa.org, or you can call us at 570-347-5616. Either way, we're there and we're happy to answer calls.
Great. Nancy Post from
Thanks,
Voluntary
Nancy.
Action
Thank you.
Center, and a lot of good information, a lot of helpful information, again, whether you're giving or helping or hoping to get that help. Rusty Fender, thank you.
Good show. We'll see you next week.
Indeed. Mark, thanks for keeping us in focus. Mark McGlory, I'm David DeCosmo for ECTV Live. Until we see you again next week, here's hoping all your news is good.